Mum, 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 mum.
Mom.
Mum. I'm not gonna. I can't. Da 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 da.
Dad.
Da 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 da.
Bingo,
Turns out she's a
Bluey.
mom. God, what the hell are we doing? All right, that's right, everyone. Welcome to the season finale of the Great Ranking Podcast. This is the Orlando edition, Universal Orlando. Folks, I think it's pretty clear to say, like, I feel like the Great Ranking Podcast might be one of my favorite things that has come up in the past few years on the channel, because it's just I don't know, I'm not necessarily a numbers guy when it comes to math, but I do like crunching numbers when it comes to ranking things and that kind of stuff, like analytics. So with that in mind,
the last episode
Monkey,
of this will be you ranking all the Great Ranking Podcasts.
I mean, honestly, don't give me ideas. Once we get 10 seasons in.
Now we're ranking every part of the Disney animated feature canon podcast.
I don't joke. You joke about that. All right. So we do have a poll up right now on the community channel, unless you're on the community page of the channel. Unless you are watching this in the archive, in which case it might be irrelevant. But if you are watching this live, there is a poll up right now. Go vote on it. I have 5 wonderful choices that will be running down once this is over. But before we get to that, we have to run down this final list because, you know, much like every product in Hollywood now, we're like obsessed to get to the next product before we even finish the current product. So, Monkey, let's finish, say, current product. What is your number 10?
My number 10, I'm giving to Transformers The Ride 3D.
Ooh, man, that's way too high. I'm sorry, I kid.
I
All
might
right.
not entirely disagree with you there.
I mean, especially
I do
because
quite
it's
like the
such
ride
a
itself.
clone.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I guess just judging it as an attraction on its own, then I still quite like it. And yeah, the clone thing does work against it. I've only done it like once per trip because it's a clone.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, like, I know the queue layout's a little different, and maybe the fake skyline's a little better in Florida. I don't know. But yes, I mean, you know, I've certainly got a lot of experience with the Hollywood version, so I do quite like the ride. It's it's some actiony fun. It's a convincing simulator. It's got some good 3D. A bit rougher than it needs to be, but yeah, it makes it up this high just of how good an attraction I personally think it is.
That's fair. That's totally fair. All right. Number 10. For me, it's going to be Popeye and Bluto's Bilge-Rat barges. Honestly, I just had the thought come to mind. Like, I really think if this attraction was in a water park, it would be the best goddamn water park attraction ever. Because honestly, it's of that scale of wetness. It really is. It's like there's no way to avoid it. I love this ride. I really do. I genuinely think it is probably the best River Rapids ride. I would definitely say it's the best one in North America. I don't know about, there's definitely some interesting ones, overseas that I can't really compare it to. But, I mean, the ambition of this one is really, really off the charts. I mean, especially compared to, the 2 Disney ones that are supposed to be like the top of the line, but instead, literally, the Knott's Rapids ride is way better than either one of those. Just saying.
Obviously, all of these pale in comparison to the Magic Mountain one.
Oh my god, the Magic Mountain one sucks. It really is just like an oval around, like, Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
That's an oval. It has to be a circle.
Oh God, I'm actually quite fond
Yeah,
of
it might
the
attract a sea Tatsu.
right. I'm actually quite fond of the landscaping in the Discovery Kingdom one, to tell you the truth. Like, it doesn't have
Ooh.
any theming to speak of, but it's landscaped quite nicely. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot to this thing, man. There really is. I mean, mostly just in the sense of, like I said, if this was a water park attraction, it would be the best water park attraction ever. Just because of how ambitious it goes with trying to get you as soaked as humanly possible. I mean, they put real thought into it.
That
I don't
whole
know,
lift
but
hill,
seriously,
even.
like if it wasn't for that factor, I mean, I think there's so many fun things about this thing. Obviously, it's very well themed, the octopus and everything like that. The one thing that I didn't really get from ride throughs that I really appreciated on ride that I'm kind of surprised not more people talk about is I really appreciate how the finale is like it's kind of like it's not really a drop, right? But it's more of like kind of like this whirlpool effect, which is really unique.
Or it's like I don't want to say a slope. Maybe you could say a
It's
ramp.
almost like the river rapids equivalent of a helix or something like that. It's very unique how it's executed. I really, really like it. And I really love the build up to it too. Honestly, the build up to it, I think is honestly just as good as the build up to Dudley's drop. And Dudley's drop is a really damn good build up. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just love all the kinetic energy with the moving parts and everything on that lift hill. There is a real kind of intimidation behind it in some aspects. It almost
Yeah.
is kind of like the cartoony equivalent of the Jurassic Park lift hill. Yeah, I really
Mm.
like it. Obviously, it's not an attraction that you can just go and do. Like, it's even doing it the 2 times I did it, I was like, oh man, that is basically taking a toll on the rest of my day. Oh man, if this thing was just like they should just I mean, as much as I appreciate Volcano Bay, just literally just retheme Volcano Bay to Toon Lagoon, make this the main attraction.
Hmm.
That would never ever ever happen. Like logistically, that'd be a nightmare. But but seriously, if that was the case, then this would I don't know. Like I said, do you agree with me that it feels more like a genuine water park attraction?
I see the feeling. Yeah.
Just because it's like, because most river rapids rides, you're probably going to get at least a little wet, but it's like, unless you get fucked by a waterfall or something, you're not going to come off completely drenched. But this thing, it's like, no, from the get go, you are screwed. He holds no mercy. All right. Okay, number
I
9, Monkey. What do you got?
My number 9, I'm given to, at least at the moment, I'm given to Men in Black Alien Attack.
Okay, okay. I'm actually
Yeah,
kind of surprised I have that higher than you.
I mean, maybe it's also like, for some reason, I feel like I haven't done this one as much as others at the park, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's a
It's in
matter
a
of the
weird corner. I
location.
think that's it.
Yeah, I'm sure that factors in. Maybe also the wait
Because I wanted
times.
to do it more on my trip, but it's just like it's legitimately a pain to get back there.
Yeah, it's yeah, I feel like it's one that I should like more than I maybe have. And I
Hmm.
think maybe the gameplay was also tricky for me,
Mhm, mhm,
especially on the first times doing it. And and yeah, it would be nice if the pre-show operations were more consistent. But nevertheless, still a great idea with the pre-show and the conceit behind why you're there.
mhm.
Maybe it's one where the queue is a little better than the ride. I'm not entirely certain. Uh, but yeah, it's a fun ride idea. It's a lovely use of the two cars element. You get to split up, and then the cars turn against each other. That's yeah. It's I feel like I could have more to say, or maybe I don't have as much to say. But
I've definitely
it's
got some thoughts I'm
fun.
holding off on. So
yeah, I certainly like maybe it's one I appreciate more than I have in practice. I'm trying to sound like not too
No,
insulting
I
on
get what
this.
you're saying. I really do. I think a combination of it just being in a weird corner of the park, mixed with the fact that the gameplay element, I agree, is definitely on the weaker side when it comes to this kind of attraction.
Like
Um,
it's
but that being said, it's got some things in it. Like I think as far as the shooting dark ride goes, this is easily like the best physical sets I have ever seen in a shooting dark ride, hands down.
right. Yeah, it's one where it's sort of like it's harder to be like, yeah, I went on that. It's harder to sort of grasp that memory feel. Trying to be coherent.
I know what you're saying, but yeah, that's a weird roundabout way of saying it, but I get it.
Like say like less vivid feeling of yeah, I was there, I was on
Right,
that.
it doesn't really stick to me, and I agree with you. The cue sticks in your head more than any actual part of the ride. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just got really lucky the fact that I had like literally the perfect pre-show
yeah.
experience the first time I went.
Yeah. And of course that is a more convincing elevator than Escape from Gringotts.
Legitimately, objectively, fact.
Yeah. And
All right.
I dare I engage in a little Rise of the Resistance shade.
Ooh, well, you know, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm more into Rise of the Resistance than you are, but yeah,
Of
this
course.
elevator is more convincing than the one in Rise, which
And
is
dare I
ironic because
say
that's
this
the ride that actually where you actually ride elevators, and then the part where you're okay, we're in an elevator, it's just lights.
right. Dare I
Yeah, we're
say
just
this also has some components of the whole like multi-part experience that Rise is going for with the pre-show.
right. That's true.
That's a little bit of a stretch, but I like for me, I had it full on with that damn like dumb luck first run that I went on. But anyways,
Yeah, and of
all
course, it's
right.
great that they have a little Sherman Brothers type song at the end.
Oh yes, oh yes.
I'm sure you have stuff to say about the
Are we
ending.
alone? Of course
Of
we
course we
are.
are.
All right. So number 9 for me is genuinely the hardest thing in the resort to rank, and it's the Hogwarts Express. And oh man, this I am not ranking it based on like, oh, I got to get on the Hogwarts Express, rope drop that Hogwarts Express, yo. Such an
You
awesome
go to
attraction in its
Yeah,
own
you
right.
rope drop this thing in one park that just takes you to a different park.
Okay, legitimately, I could. I was.
I'm just pointing
I'm
out
not
the
even
irony
kidding
of
you.
lining up at
No,
one place to get that and
I
takes you
was
to a different
legitimately
place.
considering doing that at one point, just because the line for the Diagon Alley side is considerably longer than the line for the island side. So I was legitimately considering doing that at a certain point. I'm not even gonna lie. But here's the thing though. I feel like Hogwarts Express, it is like I feel like the reason it is so high for me and also so hard to rank is it is sheer theme park innovation for me. Like the fact that it is able to tie together two areas, two parks into one cohesive experience that flows together and makes sense, and you can get on the Hogwarts Express in Diagon Alley and actually get off and go into Hogsmeade. Monkey, I mean, granted, obviously Harry Potter is a little bit tainted nowadays. Tainted mate. I'm sorry.
What?
But
Yeah, someone insert
still,
that Potter Puppet Pals clip of Harry being like, "This is tainted, literally."
but the 12-year-old in me will never not tire of the whole. It's just so cool to me that they managed to actually do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, I'm not gonna lie, a big factor is the fact that this was broken down until literally like day 2 or 3 of my trip. So even getting to do it to begin with was like a big pleasant surprise. Because it was one of those things where it was having a lot of mechanical issues. Like there was something wrong with it. I think it was something to do with like there was a blackout, and then they were having a really hard time getting it back online after a blackout. And it just, so it was one of those things where I just was not expecting to actually do it, and I did it. If only Lightning Rod would have been like that, right? Right, Dollywood? You know what's funny,
Yes.
Monkey, is that oh Jesus Christ, why are these things in my chat? No, I don't want you. I want actual people engaging with this. Sorry. I saw we had 3 comments and I got excited for a second. Anyways.
With a name like that.
I know, right? Okay.
You know, that's why you really get on the Hogwarts Express, is to find sex. Oh, God, that has some horrible connotations in this context. Fuck.
Yeah. Ooh, boy.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. It's Monkey, don't worry about it. We are not a big enough channel that is ever going to get clipped out of context. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right. Also, Hogwarts Express, I really appreciate. Obviously, the Diagon Alley queue is incredible and like literally feels like an actual like travel terminal. It's super immersive. And I find the Hogsmeade station to be charming. It's not great, but it's charming. That's about the best I could say for it. I do like my favorite thing about the Hogsmeade Express station is it's right up next to there's no need for that. But that's like literally the first thing you hear when you get off the train. But yeah, like I said, just sheer theme park innovation. Like I could totally see them doing something similar for like a connected, like if they ever did a Super Nintendo World in Universal. Well, I don't know. That would there's a way bigger difference. There's a way bigger distance.
Yeah, I guess rip off Galactic Star Cruiser and put you on a themed shuttle bus or something.
I know, right? Maybe something like that. I'm like, yeah, no, maybe scratch that. I mean, if they ever did find a way to connect those 2 parks via travel attraction, that'd be incredible. But yeah, I'm not counting on it. But regardless, I do think this is this high on my list and earns a spot in the top 10 just for the sheer innovation of it all. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's just still like, it's ridiculously ambitious still to this day that it even exists and does what it does. So.
And so thanks to it, there's still a Magical Express in Florida.
I know, right? Jesus Christ. I think that's one of those things that Iger is going to give back for goodwill. I really do. I hope so, at least. It would definitely be a big incentive to actually do a Disney World trip if they, if they actually started goodwill stuff like that. Like, hey, this stuff that Chapek took out, we're bringing it back.
Yeah, the stuff that, say, made, your practical day at the park a little easier. Improved guest satisfaction. Anyway.
All right. Okay, number 8, Monkey.
Okay, so this might be a little bit of a hot take, and I think we're also definitely at this point coming into a spot where, as we may have said before, one of the advantages Universal has over Disney is that there's not as much there, so you don't have to be there as long. Take that, wallet. One of the downsides of that is that because there isn't as much there, you end up going on the same stuff over and over. It gets a little.
By the 5th day I was there, yes, I was kind of feeling that.
Yeah, like 4 days and nights there. That's stretching it a bit.
Although Halloween Horror Nights definitely kind of shook it up for me on the trip. But honestly, if I were to do my trip over again, I would definitely. If I were to do my trip over again, I would definitely give myself an extra day at Busch. But anyways.
Yeah. So, and this might also be a case of me being a little cynical, but number 8 I'm given to The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man.
Really? That is a hot take.
And again, maybe it's like me, like I said, me being a bit cynical was like, all the hype of it and it being all screen heavy. And don't get me wrong, it's certainly, it is at the end of the day, overall, it's probably stronger than Transformers. The visuals are more varied at least, and the fire is real.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, it must have, this thing must have been mind blowing when it opened.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
Yeah, which kind of leads into the, going into it today. It's like, we've got a lot of it in this resort alone. And, I do appreciate how, this one they go huge and in your face and with the characters on the screens, which adds to the comic book feel of it. You get this little collection of characters. You get they're in 3D. Also, I feel like last time I was there, the screens might have had a little bit of a rainbow blur, which
the screens are not the most clear. I'll give you that.
Yeah, so I remember that going into Kong with that in mind, which maybe I'll get to later. So, but it is a good ride. It's one of those where it's like, it's just going on it a lot, and it's a screen heavy deal. So,
okay.
Again, this is Men in Black again, where I'm like,
it's all good.
I feel
it's all
like,
good.
Yeah, and I ranked these above Transformers, which I was gushing about.
Oh God! All right,
but and also shout out to Spider-Man for being the first Universal Orlando ride I ever went on.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's a lot better than Woody Woodpecker's Nut House coaster.
Well, that's arguable.
Right. All right.
I mean, does Spider-Man give you a tour of the Nut House? No.
Does Woody Woodpecker's Nut House coaster give you a tour of the Nut House?
It's arguable.
What even is the Nut House? Is the Nut House the station?
I'm guessing the Nut House is the Nut House.
Now, if the Nut House was like a feature on the coaster, like the barn from the Barnstormer, then yeah, sure. But all right, I'm sorry. Anyways. Okay,
it's the Nut House. It's worthy of discussion.
It's the Nut House. It's the Nut House. All right. Number 8 for me
is going
to be, yes. It's going to be Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. And honestly, the only reason it's not higher for me is just because of the clone factor. I obviously went on this first at Hollywood, so I don't have that.
Being at Camino, clone and everything.
I don't have that same level of I don't have that same level of attachment to this version. I mean, that being said, it's still also I think it's incredible just as far as like universal crowd control goes. I think it's incredible that this is a supporting attraction now. I mean, that in itself is like fucking ridiculous. The fact that this is like every time I went by on it, it was practically a walk on. I mean, that's like mind blowing. Like from like
this is your number 8, right?
Number 8, yeah.
Because it's my number 7.
Oh, okay. I had a feeling we'd rank this similarly.
And the loading of this ride, it's lightning efficient.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, especially considering just how complex the actual ride system is. But, I mean, obviously, one thing about this attraction, obviously the physical sets are still fucking incredible. I mean, that Whomping Willow scene, the Dementors, everything about it.
You get Blue the little Dragon 5 cameo fan services.
What?
Yeah, I remember this is because I was able to get on Florida's the year before it came to Hollywood. So it was like, oh man, that was so cool. I'm so glad it's coming to Hollywood. Obviously 2015, what we didn't know as much back then.
Of course.
So, and it was a thought I was hoping I'd feel with Runaway Railway, but I had it with Toothsomes.
Right. I mean, Runaway Railway, it's I'm happy we're getting it for sure.
Yeah, it's nice. And and we're also getting it slightly different.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen? I don't know if you have seen the concept art for some of the Q stuff.
Yes.
You have. So have you seen the big? There's one room in particular I want to mention, but I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, and if you haven't, it might be a spoiler.
Well, like the beanstalk or the
The
plane.
beanstalk,
Or...
yes.
Yeah, I remember
That
that being like real old concept art.
that room alone looks really, really cool. Like way better than anything in the Florida queue.
Yeah, I mean, hell, does Forbidden Journey's greenhouse section have a giant beanstalk? No. More points against this franchise.
Ding.
This greenhouse does not contain a beanstalk. Ding.
Oh god.
But yeah, so again, going with the vehicles of this, I remember like at the time after doing it, and you could arguably still say this, like how technologically this is the sequel to Haunted Mansion. Like you get the immersive queue that gets you into the experience, the continuous load, and vehicles that point you like a camera.
Totally. I could see that.
Yeah, it's one of those rides where POVs, at least back in 2015, maybe they're a bit better now, but they don't do the ride justice. Cough, cough, the bridge scene, let alone.
Totally.
Yeah,
So I
feel like
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
I was gonna say I just had like a really, really specific memory. So basically, like we did the attraction. I think we only did it the one time in the morning, right?
something like that.
And then because I know we marathoned it at the end of the day using the single rider, but so I remember I was like so blown away by it the first time I did it that like when we were on the tram tour and we were like, like on the lower law and we were like, and you were like, hey, look, there's Hogwarts. And I was like, oh my God, there it is. And my brain was like still like firing on all cylinders, like, Jesus Christ, I need to get back on it.
And nothing crazy ever happened in Hollywood in fall 2017 again.
That was literally the day. Literally the day.
Where was I going with this?
I think that was because I know that we did. Was that the Szechuan sauce day? I want to say that was the Szechuan
Probably.
sauce day. I think it was. I think it was because we were like talking about maybe going to the McDonald's afterwards. Jesus Christ, thank God we didn't. Anyways.
I'm trying to.
So, go ahead.
But yeah, a thing about this one, the notes against it are like, the exclusionary restraints and how the motion is too much for some people. It's not too much for me, but so yeah, it would be nice if it was a little more accessible for others.
It was definitely way too much for my grandma.
Like I remember being worried about it before going on it for the first time, and
yeah,
thankfully I can handle it. Also, it sounds like, from what I hear, it sounds like the lockers are better now than they were pre-pandemic.
That's good.
Yeah, because I don't remember offhand, but I think I remember hearing like they were making new lockers for it.
I didn't really pay attention to the locker situations at all this trip because I never had any bags, but
yeah,
I mean outside of obviously the Velocicoaster, but
so yeah, going in early 2020, those lockers were so friggin' outdated and not as good as the others. Like, hey, you know how most of these things, you just scan your ticket that opens and closes your locker?
Right.
Yeah. Well, here on Forbidden Journey, you still have to, do your thumbprint and type and remember your number to type it in, and it's really cramped in there.
Oh man, dude, do you remember? I don't know if I was like live texting you guys about this or not. I don't think I was, but my grandma and I got royally fucked at the Journey to Atlantis lockers at SeaWorld because of that. Because we we could not for the life of us figure out the actual locker number. Oh man, that was so stressful. And then the security guard was like, well, I can't just open every locker because that's people's personal stuff. I'm like, what the hell are we going to do then? Oh God. Ooh, so stressful. Anyways, thank God that system is better nowadays. Woo! Anyway, I'm sorry that this has been a wild ride of an entry because it's gone from like really, really good theme park memory to really stressful theme park memory. All right.
Forbidden Journey is literally a wild ride.
It is. Okay, I guess we'll move on to my number 7 then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, it's another one that's already been brought up, so it won't take long to go through. It's Men in Black Alien Attack. Yeah, I think the only things I want to mention here, obviously we've already gone over, like, it's kind of a luck of the draw if you actually do get a really good pre-show or not. Obviously, I did the first time I went.
Well, if you get the full pre-show.
Uh-huh. But, the queue is very good. I really like the ride itself, man. I really do. I very much don't agree with your sentiment about the queue being better than the ride. Like, the queue is great.
Yeah, that was also more of a kind of, while I'm doing research, thought, maybe? I'm not entirely committal to that.
I don't know. I really, really love, like, again, I think what this boils down to is the fact that you probably care more about the actual gameplay component than I do. Like, for me, I could easily ride this thing and just fuck around and not really care and still have a pretty good time. You're a little bit more competitive with these types of rides. Is that a good assessment?
Or at least maybe it's like, it's not a coast I live on, so yeah, I feel like I ought to take full advantage of it.
Right.
As opposed to, like, there had been times in the past where I would just go on Astro Blasters without doing the gameplay.
Sure, yeah. But I don't know. I think the part where you have to fight the other car is so goddamn clever. Yeah. And I feel like that's just like a really good indication of like Universal just being at the top of their game when it comes to really thinking outside the box and innovating in ways that Disney just wasn't and isn't. As far as just how large scale some of their stuff can get. I don't know.
What are you talking about? They made Nigel Canning a moon. Imagine if it was that instead of the bug at the end.
Right. Oh, God. All right, push the button. God, anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I just think the whole thing just has, like, the physical sets are really impressive. I think not only is it impressive that it has so many animatronics, I mean, this is definitely, it's gotta be the most animatronics in a single ride in the resort, come to think of it, right? It's gotta be.
Probably.
I mean, they're not, obviously, none of them are very complex, but still, it's, I will take those over just screens any day. Although, granted, I think Midway Mania is a better attraction than this because that gameplay is just fucking sublime. That's the one time I will say with these shooting dark rides, it's like, yeah, Midway Mania just absolutely trumps everything else when it comes to the actual gameplay component. But I digress.
Yeah, that has the better gameplay. I could see it. I might think this is Men in Black is better attraction. Midway is better gameplay.
No, like Midway, I feel like the gameplay is literally the attraction to a certain extent. And I don't even think that's a bad thing, just because I think it is really well executed. As you can tell, I've really grown an appreciation for Midway over the years that I did not have.
Oh yes, I can very much tell.
Right. But anyways, again, I feel like part of that is kind of like I talked about this in the on the Walt Disney World podcast, but I feel like part of that is I feel like Midway is, I mean, not necessarily nowadays with the current crowd control situation, but at least when I was going back, 2019, 2020, it was more of a supporting attraction in Toy Story Land. Thus, you didn't have to wait like crippling wait times for it. And the queue is way better than the California version. Anyways, this is not the great WDW Magic Ranking Podcast. WDW, not WDW Magic, just WDW. I'm sorry, I'm mixed up. Anyways, sorry about that. What's your number 6?
My number 6, it's funny. Looking over the two just before this, I was wondering whether or not to switch it with Forbidden Journey. I'm not gonna for now. Number 6, I'm giving it to Revenge of the Mummy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic Universal Orlando attraction, and as much as I like the Hollywood one, I still quite like this as well, even though there's a question or two I have, like, the ending's kind of odd, and it's a bit harder to see the images during the coaster portion and obviously the backwards portion. But it's definitely a clever attraction, like the meta cue, the little stuff like, say, the Imhotep animatronic at the beginning, that, what's it called? The obviously the fake out. Oh, if only we could have gone on not knowing that it would happen. But yeah, it's classic. It's a wilder ride than Hollywood, which might work in Hollywood's favor for me, but nevertheless, it is a universal Orlando classic.
All right.
Da 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 da. And look, it's a mummy.
Okay. Number 6 for me is going to be Spider-Man. I don't really have a ton to say about it that you didn't already say. I think, honestly, I feel like this still to this day is one of the best combinations of screens and practical effects I've ever seen on a theme park ride. Which is what gives it a lot of points for me. I really dig stuff like I don't know. It's like I was practically marathoning it at certain points. Not really marathoning it, but going on it like at least like a couple times in a row each time I would pass by it. And like I don't know, like stuff like the scene where the Statue of Liberty parts start to float and your attraction starts to float at the same time, and and seeing the different like the different perspectives, like the different like the sides of the walls, and it's all just really, really well done. Flows just really well. I don't really have a ton bad to say about it. I do think that once you do go on it a certain amount of times, it does kind of like you do kind of start to see the mechanisms behind it. And I honestly, I don't think the free fall has ever worked for me as much as it works for other people. I just don't get that much of an adrenaline rush out of it. But
Plus, so many attractions also use that.
right, yeah. Like I remember when I first heard about Spider-Man, that was like the big thing that everyone was like, hey, it simulates that you're like falling from a giant building. I'm like, that sounds fucking incredible. And it's like when I did it on the actual ride, I was like, oh, that's it? Okay. That's honestly one of the more underwhelming elements of the attraction for me personally. But
like I said, with repetition, like slight backtrack, that's something that I think applies to Mummy as well. And another attraction or two coming up for me is the repetition element.
Totally. But yeah, that's about it. Still a very solid attraction. I do think the repetition element slightly keeps it out of the top 5 for me.
Gee, going on a ride over and over and over again right after the other, like, can make it seem, more routine. Who would have thunk? Hold on, my phone's ringing. A Haunted Mansion has entered the chat. Sorry. Anyhow, is that all you have to say for the... All right. So is it my number 5 then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my number 5. This is probably my equivalent to what our Jurassic Park's rankings were. 5, I am given to Poseidon's Fury.
Yeah.
I still love it. Like, yeah, there is it is going to depend a bit on your tailor. Yes, Darkanon is a silly name. I even like just going through it, like especially the first time on my second trip, it's like, well, yeah, I don't think the script is bad. I like the adventure. I still think this is cool and relatively solid. And yeah, obviously that final room is, a heck of a memorable set piece. So it just really works for me. Maybe it's also got the uniqueness going for it that I mean, what else is there that's really like it?
Yeah, it's certainly like I remember the first time I did it, I drew some comparisons to Phantasmic with like the fire on the water effects.
Yeah, that, and like I my non-spoilery way of describing it to you was like, what if the Haunted Mansion walkthrough was the entire attraction?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really appreciate this one.
Cool. All right. Well, Monkey, it's funny that you bring that up because my number 5 is Jurassic Park River Adventure. Okay, obviously this was a big
in Darkenon Rex.
What?
In Darkenon Rex.
Yes.
That would be amazing on Jurassic World if the IREX said, "This battle began 1,000 years ago."
Oh my god.
I'll let you
continue. It would
continue.
make that animatronic somehow even more scary. Because this has already been established. I'm not kidding. People might think I am kidding, but I will run this into the ground until I actually get on it. I am legitimately frightened of the Jurassic World IREX animatronic. Legitimately frightened of it. To the point where I have had nightmares of going on it. That's how frightened I am of that thing. Anyways.
No, I've also had Jurassic World dreams as well. Not crazy about them. And since it's Jeffrey Combs as Darkenon, that means
where it's like I'm on the lift hill and I'm like, oh fuck, we're about to get to the IREX. I'm not ready for it. Oh fuck.
Yeah, mine are of a different kind, but since if we're doing this IREX Darkenon mashup, since Darkenon is Jeffrey Combs, then we got to have the IREX as an irritable hotel clerk, in Brazil.
Oh my god. But of course, nothing will ever beat my dream. This might still be one of my favorite dreams that I've ever had. The Knott's Berry Farm building a Kingdom of the Dinosaurs coaster that goes all the way around the park, where you ride in full-size T-Rex animatronics as the coaster vehicles.
Well, you know who else had a dream?
I have
Don
no
Hammond.
idea how
What are your
my
thoughts
brain
on
on
his dream coming to life at Orlando?
Oh god. That is just, I don't know. I just love the imagery of that. It just sticks in my head so clearly. Oh god. Anyway. Oh, just watch. One of these days an IAPA event is going to come out, like, confirm new T-Rex coaster, and it's not the Rocky Mountain Construction T-Rex. Anyways.
No, it'll be the T-Rex from that McDonald Land video.
Right. All right, so speaking of T-Rex, yeah,
yes.
I don't really have a ton to say about this other than the fact that I just adore it for being an old school throwback Jurassic Park and not Jurassic World ride. And honestly, when I was there, Monkey, I think one of the big reasons why I did it as many times as I did was just that factor of like, the next time I come to this park, this might be Jurassic World and not Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? So I really
the old
wanted
school
to,
perspective here.
Yeah. So I really wanted to just soak up that Jurassic Park vibe. And honestly, I don't know. This thing just, I still think it is I still think it's the birth of the modern something goes wrong theme park attraction storyline, which I think is very significant. There's just so many things about it that really fire on all cylinders for me. I really think that the first half, the outdoor half, one of the things that really caught me off guard, I really think that that Florida takes better care of the animatronics than Hollywood did at least the last time I went on the Hollywood version, because I feel like the animatronics here were in a lot better shape. I was pleasantly surprised at how good the animatronics looked.
And you don't have that building on the hill when the doors open.
That's definitely a factor for sure. Yeah. No, actually, I really love that. That is one thing that Florida does exceptionally well. I think the build-up is a lot better, actually. But
the build-up to
that moment to the doors opening, just because I feel like that initial little turnaround after the lift hill is a lot more isolated. But
Was it, if we're talking like melding attractions with where something goes wrong. Star Tours, what are you doing here? This is the Raptor containment area.
yes,
It's
yes.
restricted.
Well, actually, come to think of it, Monkey, I'm glad you brought that up because, like, Star Tours is definitely a something goes wrong attraction that predates this. So, thank you for correcting me on that.
Jurassic
Star
Park,
Tours,
the
I think,
adventures
in
continue.
all intents and purposes, Star Tours is probably the granddaddy of all something goes wrong theme park attractions.
And Indy.
Yeah, but Indy and Star Tours were like almost a decade apart, though.
What was it, like 8 years? Okay, I guess that
Something
is a
like that.
decade. And then Jurassic is 96, so.
I actually don't even necessarily consider Indy to be a something goes wrong attraction. In just because there's always an element of danger with Indy. You know what I mean? Whereas with Jurassic Park, it's like you're straight up just taking a tour.
Right.
With Indy, there's an element of like, okay, any one of these idiots could look into the eye. Anyways. Oh god. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. There's so many little things here. Like you know what I actually noticed for the first time, just like the last time I did it, like literally the last ride of the trip, was they have this little raptor paddock area, and then there's even the little crane thing for raising and lowering the ox. I was like, oh my god, they have that. I don't know, like I do think there is a level of detail. This to me, it is Universal's Pirates of the Caribbean. I strongly feel that way. I really do. I feel like it's that equivalent of like, it's practically timeless from my point of view. It really is. I mean, honestly, the only thing I would change about it at all is I think the Raptors on the lift hill are a little, they could be updated a bit. But like the T-Rex still looks fucking fantastic all these years later. I mean, it's still just a fucking awesome visual. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot to love about this thing for me still. I totally get the the clone element, but I'm just very, very thankful if this does go the way of Jurassic World. I'm very thankful that I got that trip and got all those right. I think I probably did this like 5 or 6 times at least. So
Tough.
yeah,
And even as a clone, it's still a clone that actually, changes shit.
I genuinely think it's the better version of the two. I mean, Hollywood does have certain things that are better about it. Like I think specifically the Jeep, when the Jeep was working, was like a really great set piece. Although, with Florida, I feel like they subbed out, like Florida does have the shaking raptor cage, and that actually works. So, anyways. Alrighty. You're number 5.
Was
Or
Poseidon's
4.
Fury, so my number 4.
4, sorry.
My number 4, I'm giving it to Skull Island Reign of Kong.
Okay. Oh, that's my number 3, so we can go ahead and tag team this again.
Yeah. Well,
actually, goddamn, I think we're going to have a lot of the same ones in these top 4 spots. So, actually, you know what, Monkey? Let me just get my number 4 out of the way, because my number 4 is Revenge of the Mummy.
Okay.
And I don't have a lot to say about it that you didn't already say. I think, it's a classic. I think probably the reason it ranks a little bit higher for me is that, yes, the actual like thematic components of it are not quite as like I do think like on a first, like I think this must have been mind-blowing. It must have been like an equal level of mind-blowing to Spider-Man when it first came out, especially with that fake out and stuff like that. I remember people were raving about that fire, that the ceiling of fire.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
great.
it really must have been mind-blowing back in the day. And it still is to a certain extent. I mean, I will never, I honestly, that ceiling of fire will never not be impressive to me. The fact that they're able to pull that off. And you feel the heat of that thing really intensely. But what really does elevate it for me is the actual coaster part of it. Like, I do think it's a damn good coaster, and I will go on it just as a coaster. I mean, obviously, it's the best coaster in in that park, but like it is the best coaster option in Universal Florida. God, does it bug you as much as
Come
it
on,
bugs
a
me?
tour of a movie set is not a tour of the nut house.
Oh God. Just really quick, does it bug you as much as it bugs me that the resort is Universal Orlando and then the park is Universal Studios Florida? Like, I feel like I get those two mixed up way too much.
It doesn't necessarily bug me, but it is kind of odd and funny.
I find myself second guessing myself when it comes to like what to reference when it comes to referencing the actual park itself. Anyways.
Man, and obviously Doggins pointed this out in his old video, followed by his observation that, Islands of Adventure, where the islands are, a body of water surrounded by land. Island.
I mean, he's not wrong, but there's not really a better way.
Yeah, it's a funny observation.
Yeah. I've actually been going back and watching a lot of his stuff recently because of my current Weird Al fixation. But anyways, I actually did not know he was doing all that Tolkien stuff. That somehow had slipped my radar. So that was fun to go back and watch. Anyways.
Anyhow.
Okay, so yeah, let's do this kind of like, so your number 4 and my number 3 is Skull Island Reign of Kong. And then from there we're literally going to have the same stuff in the 3, 2, 1 position. So
right.
Wait, what I'm sorry, I'm totally messing this up but so I have Skull, I have Reign of Kong, Hagrid's, and E.T. What else is on your list for you that we haven't gone to yet?
I'm not telling yet.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wonder, should you go first with Kong since you went on
that's
it
what I'm
first?
trying to figure out. I don't know. I think we should just talk about it at the same time, I guess. We have very similar top spots. That's honestly why I'm asking what the attraction is that we haven't gone to yet.
Okay, well, I'll just tell my little Kong story first. So we'll kick off that discussion.
Okay.
So, the ride had opened. It was under construction the first time I went. So it opened. I know I'd seen a POV of it. Looked fine.
It obviously you've seen the Hollywood version.
Well, yeah. And I remember, reactions to it being a bit mixed, which I know not that surprising. So, surprise, surprise, I'm watching a Tony Goldmark video where he's talking about stuff that happened at theme parks in 2016. He mentions this ride and says how even though he hasn't watched POVs of it, he's heard amazing things. And at the time, I'm like, really? That's not quite what I've been hearing. So, flash forward, 2020, I go on the ride. We're pulling into the station, and I'm like, okay, those people saying amazing things, they were right.
Yeah.
That was a hell of an amazing first ride on it.
This ride kicks ass.
Yeah, as good as the other rides were, they don't quite top that first time on it. And yeah, I don't deny, yes, you have that hole at the front of the 360 room. Yes, the inner seats are better than the outer seats. And sure, it's short, but it's tight. It's tightly put together. The 3D was like I said, I was going in there fresh off of the rainbowy-ness on Spider-Man. So, okay, yeah. I was expecting it to be a little rainbowy here as well. It's not.
No, the 3D here is legitimately probably the best. It's like maybe this and Flight of Passage for me, as far as like the best theme park 3D I've seen.
And, the 3D's decent. The 3D's, good. And if you're sitting in the right spot, like I was on my first time, it looks like one of those Caractacus worm things, whatever they're called. Like, it looks like it's actually biting onto the ropes of the car.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And
then, of course, like the whole, every time that Kong, like, climbs over, and interacts with the car itself, like, all those little interactions. I love how they're I love how all those little interactions are kind of like callbacks to the spirit of the original confrontation where he would shake the car.
Yeah, I mean, hell, the first time going on it, I actually let out a whoa when you just see his shadow on the wall at the beginning.
Oh God, and of course, let's talk about that. Like, there's so many components to this thing that we can break down, man.
Yeah, like something that definitely...
We need to talk about the queue, because the queue is legitimately probably the best queue in the resort. Like, I legitimately think it might be better than the Harry Potter queues.
Yeah, do you know if they ever put the characters back in?
I did not see them my trip.
Yeah, I luckily didn't see them mine, which would definitely
I will admit, given the Halloween Horror Nights of it all, I was kind of over people jumping out at me, so I was glad that they weren't in there. At a certain point at Halloween Horror Nights, I was so over the chainsaw people. I was just like, you're not scaring me. You're just fucking annoying, dude. And the funny thing is, the chainsaw people don't even really have a scare zone per se. They're just kind of like out roaming around. They're so
like when you
obnoxious. But anyways, that's a whole different...
Bird, do you want to see my chainsaw and hockey mask?
Man, I'm sorry. I like Scary Farm so much better than Horror Nights. Anyways.
Anyhow, but yeah, so the queue is, great. It's like, I'm glad you're able to still see the I know it's that thing of like, yeah, it's technically Shaw Woman, and yet I just instinctively, or others call it the witch. Mm-hmm. So make of that what you will. But yeah, I'm glad you can still see her from the express queue.
Man, you get close to her.
Yeah. I remember thinking at the time, it's like sort of funny to imagine. So what, at some point she just walked in, stepped up into that spot, and then started reciting the chant.
And then, of course, the leech thing.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Andy Serkis. That's still to this day one of the most brutal deaths I've ever seen in any movie.
I mean, if it's like the Star Wars universe, he could show up again.
Oh God.
But then again,
okay, now I'm
then
just
again in Kong, he's already both a motion capture character and a human character in the same movie. So maybe he used up both his things.
Now I'm just picturing like a Peter Jackson King Kong sequel where they go back to Skull Island and Lumpy. That's the name of his character. For anyone who forgot, Lumpy is there and he makes like a triumphant return.
Yeah. I wonder if Lumpy might been like in the original novella thing that was maybe developed alongside the movie, because they use that name in the Broadway show too. For a
do they really?
Character.
That's funny.
Yeah, like Denham's assistant
in the Broadway show.
No, he's Denham's assistant.
Okay, got it. Anyway,
where was I? So this one thing I really appreciated going in that I didn't expect was I figured you go in, then you pass the bets, and I figured, yeah, after that, then you come up to a screen. But no, like, you can already, like, before you hit the bets, the screen is already in view up ahead. So they already have the movie playing and synced up to how the car is turning.
Totally.
Yes. Totally. I appreciate that attention to detail, that commitment. And also, like, I kind of knew there were animatronics driving it, but I thought it was just like, a mannequin with clothes that moved back and forth. And I get there was like, whoa, the head moves and it has an actual mouth that opens and closes. Okay. That is more than I was expecting. That's a nice surprise.
And then, of course, that exterior too. And I'm sorry, but there's something about that little turnaround, man. You know what? I feel like it's the equivalent to the turnaround at the start of Grand Fiesta Tour, right? Like, it's that little turn. It's just so immersive. It's just like, and the music is getting ready, and you feel the heat of the fire. Oh, it's so fucking epic.
Apparently, the natives were hanging out around Dudley Do-Right because that's where the chanting seems to come from.
Right. That's funny.
And you got some good music in this one.
Not to mention the rewritability, the animatronics, the different characters. Oh my!
I only got. What did I do it? Like at least maybe 6 times or so, and I only got 4 of them.
Yeah, I got about 4 as well. Yeah, but
Yeah, because I
so
got
good.
2 of them twice.
I got the Doctor twice, and I got Denham's nephew twice.
Yeah, I got the
And
Doctor
Denham's
twice and the
nephew, I think,
Texas
is like
lady twice.
objectively the best one.
Yeah, was it? Didn't you not realize until some point later that there was more than just the Texas lady?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. That was definitely the case.
Yeah, I know the one I never got was Jinx. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I know the
Oh,
first
so
one I
good.
got was the first one I got was the one with Skull Island heritage. But in any
that
case,
was another good one.
so there's
God,
absolutely
they're
nothing
all
else to
really
talk about
actually
with
well thought out
Kong, right?
characters too. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's not like there's
Oh, it's
anything
such
else
a
to talk
good
about with
ride.
Kong, right?
What?
It's not like there's anything else to talk about in this Kong attraction, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that animatronic is excellent.
It's like, I think, probably objectively the best animatronic in the resort.
Yeah, probably. Like when
Now,
I think
if they
of
were to put in the IREX, then yeah, that would probably be the,
out
not
of the
case
animatronics
anymore.
I've seen, its only major competition for me is that first Olaf.
Ooh, that's funny because it's like, that's a really interesting like battle, because it's like super fluid animation versus like incredible scale. Not that the
Yeah,
movement
and
on
also
Kong
like
is
one
fluid,
is,
of course.
and also what makes Olaf so amazing is the walking.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, this Kong is very well done. And it's the only animatronic Kong I got to see.
Thank you, grandparents.
Yeah, like even if the studio tour of Fire hadn't happened, like within the week or so before my first Hollywood visit, I would have been too scared to do the studio tour anyway.
Really? That's funny. That's funny that I was too scared to do the motion simulator, and that's the thing you were looking forward to.
Well, again, that's not a giant ape animatronic.
That's fair, and I did not know
A
that.
giant kaiju animatronic, whatnot.
And I did not know that the giant ape animatronic was going to be a part of said studio tour. So, all right. So let's see. So that was my number. So my number 4 is Revenge of the Mummy. My number 3 is Skull Island, Reign of Kong. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is E.T. Adventure.
And that is my number 2. All right. You see, this is why I thought it'd be tricky.
Yeah, I feel like the thing that, I mean, aside from maybe some maintenance stuff, what really goes against ET for me was just the repetition of my last trip doing it. Like,
I will.
Like
no, I'm sorry. I will never get tired of doing this thing. This thing is
that
way
is fair.
too.
Also, in my case, there was something where it was like you and your grandma were doing something else. So, meanwhile, I wound up on ET 3 times in a row, trying in vain to get the front, or hoping I would get the front.
Yeah, I've done it 3 times in a row too.
Yeah, so maybe also like, I mean, maybe it would have been a bit more easier, the first time doing it, whereas this time it's like, yeah, going through this again in like the same spot. Routineness. And even at the end of the day, yeah, it's very much a classic.
If Jurassic Park is Universal's Pirates of the Caribbean, this is Universal's Haunted Mansion. That's how I describe it.
This is Universal's Peter Pan.
Yeah, but it's better than Peter Pan. It's so much better.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I mean, even the flying scene in itself is better than Peter Pan's flying scene. I mean, everything about this is better than Peter Pan. But
you could say the humans have a similar range of similar animatronic style to Peter Pan. Heyo.
Right. I don't know though.
Yeah.
The humans, even the human animatronics being just obvious mannequins, is part of the charm. It's all part of. I love this thing so much. I really do.
You're under a whoa. Slowly kneels down.
Okay, my new favorite thing to do is during that scene when it's like they're flying. I always shout out, "They fly now!" But yeah. So, I mean, let's again just run down the list. I think the one flaw I can give this attraction is the fact that it's in an awkward location. Please, people, just take the note. Take the note. Just put it in Production Central. Move it. Move the entrance. Do what you got to do. That would make it so much better.
I mean, if there's a way to practically do that, that's definitely an idea.
But yeah, I mean everything from like that Spielberg, the Spielberg
smell
intro.
when you enter the pre-show room.
Of course,
I love it.
I mean the pre-show room. I could literally just like, man, I would literally like if I could, I would just rent out that space and just like spend the whole evening there if I could. I really would. It's such a great space.
I remember getting a laugh out of you, like when we did it, and the pre-show starts, and I say to you, "Now a Michael Eisner impression." Spielberg says, "Hello."
Yeah. Oh God, I like literally every frame of that Spielberg intro is just freaking iconic and seared into my mind.
E.T.
And I will admit, with the name thing, when I'm not trying to do like a gag name or trying to have him say Tiki or something, like just hearing E.T. say goodbye, Tyler is it gets me every time. Goddamn, gets me every time. I don't care.
Yeah, it's a lovely little idea. Lovely little
and
idea.
The actual alien planet is weird as fuck, but it honestly reminds me of like. You know what it reminds me of now that I've looked into this park a little bit? It reminds me of something like Efteling.
Yeah, I get that feeling. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And obviously his planet has one of the best theme park characters of all time, Orb Dawn.
I mean, honestly, all of those characters are some of the best theme park characters of all time.
But only one of them is a mushroom who sings "Welcome Home."
Oh my God, that's so good. Oh, so good.
Wonderful. And obviously, you get the forest. Yeah, there's that forest queue, obviously.
All right, I feel like at this point, like with all these attractions, we're just listing off literally every component.
Yeah.
It's classic. What more do you want to say about it?
Yeah, it's a well-themed ride. It's got the classic score, and it has the singing mushroom.
All right. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, that would be my number 2. My number 3 was Skull Island, Reign of Kong. I'm still trying to do the math on like.
But yeah, so I take it our next one is Hagrid.
My number 1 is Hagrid, actually.
Yeah, with me, it was I had a little difficulty in choosing.
Is your number 2 Forbidden Journey?
No, my Forbidden Journey was my 7.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we already talked about that, but yeah, so
I'm trying to figure out what we're missing then.
I advise you, let's play the game. We'll get there when we get there.
What the fuck are we missing? I'm legitimately like confused. Go ahead.
Okay, so I figured that this is probably objectively the best ride there. I decided to go like, okay, let's put the objective as my number 2.
Sorry. I just now realized what it is.
Yeah, right. I was worried that would give it away, but
right.
Okay, let's put the objective in number 2, and I can use stuff like the interminable queue and the pre-show of nothing and the franchise it's a part of against it and the restraints.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even then, yeah.
The restraints, like I gotta tell you, man, like I will never wait in the single rider line again because that sidecar is just no bueno.
That's funny. Did I tell you? Honestly,
did I tell you this story? I don't know if I mentioned this. I felt really bad, but like the last time I did this, it was like my night ride on it, and I was really happy that I got that night ride. But the kid that I got paired with, who went through the single rider line, like he was like a really little kid, right? Like probably about like 8 years old, something like that. And he asked me like very nicely if he could have the motorbike, and oh man, I felt like such a dick But I was like, I'm sorry. I can't sit in it. I could tell he was disappointed. I mean, it probably wasn't that big of a deal to him because he could actually fit in the damn thing. But yeah, I felt so bad though, because I had to turn him down, but I was like, I'm sorry, I'm a big guy. I can barely fit in the sidecar.
The thing for me with the motorbike is that, it whips me side to side a little too much. Although also both times I rode the motorbike, I was on the hungry side, if that factors in.
So in other words, but you were hungry?
Yeah, I know, Harold, I know you stole the ham because you were hungry, but there's no need for that.
All right.
Can we do this ride? But I mean, here's a way to throw off the stank of Potter. Just change it to Harold's magic.
Yeah, although granted, I will throw out there that, like, obviously, Robbie Coltrane just recently passed away, and I don't hold anything against she who shall not be named. Why do people not use that with her? People should use that with her now. Anyways, I don't hold anything like with the cast of Harry Potter. I can disassociate them from the controversy pretty easily, unless of course.
I know Coltrane sided with Rowling, so
did he really? Fuck. That sucks. I'm sorry. That sucks. God damn it.
At least you don't. At least the price of admission doesn't go to those royalties.
Yeah. That sucks, man. That's genuinely disappointing.
I know. There's a lot that's disappointing when it comes to this thing. But and also
I mean, I assume
because the ride is so good.
Like people like Watson and Radcliffe don't, right?
Right.
Yeah. But anyways,
so as far as
probably a generational gap thing, as much as I hate to say, and as frustrating as that is.
But yeah, so this ride is a lot of fun. Like, it was definitely perhaps the most vocal I've been on a first ride since Radiator Springs Racers. Or just sort of excited laughter the whole time.
No, I mean, that's the thing. It really does have a fun factor to it. Like, it is
not the most
intense coaster, but it is like probably among the most fun coasters I've ever been on.
Yeah. I love the "you've lost power" beat. The way you merging the story reason and the track design in there in such a great marriage.
Yeah, for sure.
And I certainly have a fun first experience in regards to the drop track scene. Because little story time. So that 2020 trip, I get on the shuttle from the airport to the hotel, and they're playing Sorcerer's Stone. So I see like a good however long in the movie, like from Christmas time through to Quirrell dying. And so that includes the Devil Snare scene. I've avoided Hagrid POVs, tried to go in blindish.
Mm-hmm.
So we come in. So, like, I know there's going to be a drop track, but I don't know how or when or why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We back up into that room, and Hagrid's like, "Oh, crikey, you're tangled in Devil's Snare." And in my mind, there's the excitement of, well, I realize where this is going. I think I know where this is going. Sure enough, that's where we work in the drop track. So it was a great moment of, like, riding the movies, to use an old Universal catchphrase.
Also, I really appreciate the fact that, like, unlike Forbidden Journey and Gringotts, this really doesn't fuck the continuity up at all. It's just like, hey, you're out on a field trip with Hagrid. That's literally the extent of the plot.
Yeah. And then at the end, you get to see unicorns. One of them's a little one. Do we explain that gag to our viewers?
I guess. I mean, it's just kind of a dumb.
It became an in-joke for you and I.
Yeah. I mean, we went pretty hard on it, like to the point where pretty much every female character we were referencing in some way, either being a mom or potentially being a mom.
When you and I went on it at that line, you literally like cupped your hands in front of your chest on the she's a mom line.
Oh God. All right. Jesus Christ.
You know what? Yeah, she who must not be named should have just kept mom.
Yeah. All right.
Speaking of, so my number one is your mother. Is on her way home, do you hear? The Cat in the Hat. My subjective favorite at Universal Orlando. Like, just to drive the point home, like, the first time on my second trip, you guys didn't receive it till later because issues with my phone, but I sent y'all a message saying in all caps, I fucking love riding Cat in the Hat!
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah, it's like I love, being there with those animatronics and, and I guess music or the characters but yeah, just the tangibleness of all those characters there and yeah, the closet room is a weak spot. But yeah, it's just a lovely, mostly physical dark ride. I guess I like the texture of the attraction, like the vehicles and the walls and the characters. And I see that shadow of the cat on his machine near the end and think like, the cat came through. It's a great little time. It's got so little line. This is one where it's like, yeah, maybe except for that closet, the routineness isn't as much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
It's funny because I really feel like I kind of experienced a similar sort of like admiration, but for me, it was more so Seuss Landing itself.
I don't blame you. Seuss Landing's great.
Because of because of that whole time where I was basically like rained out of doing any rides that I wanted to do. So instead I just spent it like literally taking magic hour shots of Seuss Landing. And
Cat in the Hat takes place during the rain. That would have been thematically appropriate.
Well, what's funny is that even like in that vlog, if you watch that vlog, I'm totally planning, like, because it was like during the last hour the park was open, I was like, oh man, I'm totally just gonna hang out, soak up the atmosphere, and then end the night off on Cat in the Hat. And then, of course, I see Velocicoaster running the distance. I'm like, fuck that!
The Cat in the Hat knows a lot about fuck that.
I'm sorry, Cat in the Hat, but Velocicoaster Night Ride, yeah, and also Velocicoaster Rain Ride as well.
And yeah, Velocicoaster is a ride at an amusement park like Universal Studios.
And also, just in case anyone missed it coming in, we are not ranking Velocicoaster on this list because that is because Monkey has not done it yet, so I didn't want to, I wanted our list to be of the same things.
With one exception.
Yes. And also because that's going to be like a primary draw for the Coaster podcast that we're going to be doing, which honestly probably won't be happening until the summer because I'm planning a big Pennsylvania trip for most likely Hershey Point, Six Flags Great America or Great Adventure, and what was the other park that I don't know. But yeah, so point being, we're not ranking Velocicoaster. It would have been very close to the top had we ranked it, but yeah. Anyways. Okay, let's run through the top 10s really quick, Monkey.
Yes, so my top 10 were number 10, Transformers The Ride 3D. Number 9, Men in Black Alien Attack. Number 8, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. Number 7, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Number 6, Revenge of the Mummy. Number 5, Poseidon's Fury. Number 4, Skull Island Reign of Kong. Number 3, E.T. Adventure. Number 2, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. And number 1, The Cat in the Hat.
I like how we basically had the same top 3, except the Cat in the Hat pushed everything up a spot on your end. But anyways,
The Cat in the Hat causing mischief. Who would have guessed?
Right. Number 10, Popeye and Bluto's Bildrat Barges. Number 9, The Hogwarts Express. Number 8, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Number 7, Men in Black Alien Attack. Number 6, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. Number 5, Jurassic Park River Adventure. Number 4, Revenge of the Mummy. Number 3, Skull Island Reign of Kong. Number 2, E.T. Adventure. And number 1, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, which I don't even really feel like I talk that much about. So let me just... it's just an awesome coaster. It's probably the best themed coaster in the world. I don't know. I don't have that much more to say about that you didn't already say. So
yeah, like I said, Cat in the Hat is my subjective number 1.
Of course. And I'm not going to run down too much of the options for the next Great Ranking podcast, but it is up there to vote on. It's a weird kind of eclectic mix. So we have 90s cartoons, which to explain that one, what we would be doing with that one is basically taking the main series from Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and the Disney Channel and ranking them all up against each other. So it'd be like basically a battle of the 90s cartoon networks. And then Disneyland attractions, which I feel like that's just kind of like an inevitability that we'll have to get to that at some point. Let's see.
Yeah,
Weird Al. What?
If the Disneyland happens after the multiverse ride opens, then you could have King Thanos to say that it is inevitable.
Yeah. Weird Al parodies, which is a big wild card, but you know what? Weird Al is my obsession of the moment. So yes, I stole that from Dave. But yeah, so you know, I'm into it. If y'all want to do it, it will happen.
I wish you could have experienced Al's brain 3D.
Wait, what? What was that? Where was that?
Should I tell you after we record? Or
yeah, sure. Okay. Gravity Falls episodes, again, kind of niche, but I mean, there's 40 of them, so it'd be, be a nice 4-parter, kind of easy to rank. And then Disney Toon Studios movies, which would include all of the Disney, direct-to-Disney DVD sequels, as well as stuff like, like Goofy Movie, Recess School's Out, all that kind of good stuff. So, and a shit ton of Winnie the Pooh movies as well. All right. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Big thanks to LEB for joining us, and thanks to all you guys for joining us throughout this endeavor. It has been a fun time, a quick season 3, and we will be back with the next one shortly. Have a good one, y'all.
Yeah, so if we've learned anything from this ranking podcast series, it's that what Strange World's marketing really needed was a party bus.
Indeed. And you know what's funny, Monkey?
Yes?
Strange World actually has a damn good Disney mom!
Right.
All right. Good night, everybody.